Hello folks, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be learning how to do this. Yes, today we're going to be learning how to create an orc bust, just like Warcraft. I always love orcs, and it's also because my initial is ORC, so I'm basically an orc. So I love orcs, and this is not like super high quality. This is like this is okay. It's not the best, but if you want to have like a scene with an orc and he's just looking at a distance, and this scene feels like he just finished battling. There's a lot of embers and fire and smoke and stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna show you how I did it and take you to the process. It's not gonna be a detailed tutorial, but more of like my process flow, and there's some few things and stuff that I do, and hopefully you could learn a thing or two. So without further ado, let's get to it. So I'm gonna show you the tree right here, as always. It's not that much, but it's divided into the background, the embers, and the 3 color passes of the orc. Foreground smoke, foreground embers, right there. So I'm gonna show you the process from modeling to texturing, sculpting, and extracting the sculpt details back to the 3D software. So the pipeline is basically like 3D Max to ZBrush, back to 3D Max, and then to Nuke. So let's jump to 3D Max right now. Alright, and we're here at Autodesk 3ds Max. I'm using a version 2012, and it's a very old model, and this is my favorite version because it's a bit stable compared to other update of the software. But anyway, let's proceed to going through the process of what I did in making the orc bust. So this is the model that I did. If you go to perspective view, you can press Alt W in PC like that. You hover your mouse in whatever view you want. Say you want front view, AW or Alt W. Perspective, Alt W, and press F4 to view wireframe. And I always wanted to get rid of this box, the bounding boxes, so I press J right there just to get rid of the boxes. And if you look at my model, I have a symmetry over here in the modifier tab right there, modifier tab. And I'm not gonna show you how to model this one step by step, but I'm gonna show you my technique in modeling. And there's many ways to model, but my style is more on edge extrusion. And if you don't understand what edge extrusion means, then I'm gonna show you right now. And if you click the mesh and you press Alt X, it becomes transparent, and you right click the object and you click freeze selection, so you can't select it anymore. My purpose of this one is just to show you my modeling process. I usually start with the eyes, and I always start with a single plane right there, and I go 1 1. I go under the eye right there. Everything starts with a single plane. Right there. And I right click and convert to editable poly. That's my favorite, editable poly. And then you go to the modifier tab, and then you select edge, and I select this edge right here. You could start any direction you want, but I always start on the right side. And from there I press shift and I left click the transform gizmo and I drag it right there, and I just adjust it. I press rotate, select, or scale. It's usually W is for move, E is for rotate, R is for scale. And let's press E for rotate, just rotate it accordingly, and go to the other view. You can even zoom in close just to make sure that you have modeled it properly, and then you edge extrude again, rotate. So it's basically like that. Shift select, left click, extrude until you get the final form. And then from here you usually just force it to rotate like this. Like that. And also watch the angle. This is just me tracing, but if you have a drawing, a 2D drawing, then yeah, it's the same thing. You go like this. You could even scale it up, move it forward like that. Let's just finish the perimeter of the eye so that you guys know what I'm talking about. There. Select, rotate, select, rotate. You could also scale it down just to match the eyes. You scale down like that. Then you scale, shift select, shift select, shift select, like that. And to weld, you could either use a bridge or you could use weld. So with this one, with a square gap, I usually just click bridge and bridge, and I click both sides, and it automatically forms a poly. So so now you have that, and from there you could basically just, you could also select, if you want a automatic edge selection on the whole edges on the outer edge, you could like select one edge and you go to the other side and you press shift and select, and it will select all the edge on the outside. And from there I could just press scale and shift and then left click drag right there. You could do that, or you could do it like by poly. You could just simply rotate it however you want. So you get the idea. Okay, let's move it over here on the side. and then I'm gonna unfreeze everything, select the orc, and then select Alt X, and it brings back the shaded texture. And same thing with the teeth. If you turn off symmetry, these are the teeth, and I modeled it separately with the gums too, and you'll see as we move along. So let's open another file, because I saved this file in progress, and I think I did armor or this one. So this is the model with a finished texture. It has the texture and it has some details on it if you render it, but what we're going to do right now is we're going to jump to ZBrush and show you guys the process on how we sculpt the details. But first, let me open back the model right there, because before we could be able to sculpt this one, we need to UV map it. Grab a There's so many ways to UV map it. Me personally, to make it faster, what I do is I select this guy right here, and I export selected, and I go to .obj, and I rename it, export it as an obj, go to ZBrush right there, and I usually go to preference, initialize ZBrush, and just click yes to widen the user interface. And say we exported the model already, so I'm gonna go to load tool, and I'm gonna locate the model, export. Okay, so I think it was the orc bust, yeah, this guy right here. So load the tool and then left click and drag it right there. Left click and drag as far as you can, and before you press anything, you go here on the mouse, edit, or you could press T to go to modifying to edit mode, and you could press Alt and left click, that's dragging. I think it's panning or dragging. And when you want to zoom in, you press same thing, press Alt, left click, and then let go of the Alt while still holding the left mouse. That's zooming in and out. So it's just getting used to it right there. So, and I usually go to material, and my favorite is matte cap gray, because it gives me lets me show all the details without the color. Color is nice, but sometimes you want to just see the details. So if you want to go to geometry, I had my division level all the way up to 6. So if you go down right there, that's the original model. So when you import it right here, import and OBJ right there, and you have the model. The first thing you're gonna do after you press edit is you divide it. So you divide one right there, you press divide and it goes like this. You press divide and you go like this. You could go as far as you can, depends on the power of your computer. Usually when I'm on the third divide, I started sculpting, and the first thing that I do is I go to standard. And my favorite tool is, it's been a while, clay buildup. Clay buildup right there. So you could also press tab. No, this is space. Press space, and you could adjust the draw size. You could adjust the focal length, the focus shift, and the intensity. I just adjust the size and the intensity a little bit. You could use a Wacom if you want. I have a Wacom, but I'm doing a tutorial right now, so it might not be helpful. So from there, I just draw any detail I want. That one's too intense, so I just Control Z, and I go back, lessen the intensity a little bit, right there, and then you sculpt. Just form the mesh. Form it however you want. And if you think that it needs to be divided again, then click divide right there. I just adjust it. And then I put some details again. Just slowly but surely. Right there. Put some details if you want. This is the first tool, my go-to tool. Clay buildup right there. To give a little shape of my model. And from there you could actually press shift, and the brush turns blue, right? See, you press shift and it becomes a smooth brush. So you can just like smoothen it out if you want. You could adjust the intensity if you want. Smoothen it out a little bit right there. And there's so many tutorials for ZBrush and how to, way better tutorial on how to sculpt and give details and wrinkles on a model. So, you could check them out, and you could learn more from them. So this one is just a run through on the process that I did. So after this one, let me grab so say you have that one and you decided, like, you know what, I'm ready for texturing. You could do two different things of texturing. You could do a poly painting and projection of an image. So what you do is, I usually go here, color, and I fill object, and it basically fills your model with a color. You just don't see it right now, but once you pick a color and then you press RGB and then you disable Z add, check this out. There, now you can start painting. And I really like this tool because you can basically blend any colors you want right there. Blend any colors you want. If I want another one, I could go green. If I want work with a green nose, maybe I want to go red. But make sure you always press RGB and disable add, okay, so that it doesn't give you a bulging scope. There. You want it to be like a clown orc with a purple lipstick right there. And from there you just adjust the intensity, and you could blend in with a Wacom. It's much better. And right now we're gonna load up a model with a texture. So let's go back to preferences, initialize ZBrush, and just clear things up, and then load tool. And I think I have orc bust texture. Orc bust texture. I just left click and press T for edit mode. You could also press F to center the model, and the default material is always this matte cap red wax. It's cool, but you know, you can't see much really, so I just go to the matte material and I change it to matte cap gray, and now you see the texture right there. You can see all the texture that's going on. And the next question is, well, how do you bring all the armors and the teeth and the hair braids? Well, what you do is you go to load tool, and then you click, and then you find let's say I want to bring in the orc teeth. Like that, orc teeth. Oops. I bring in the orc teeth, and then I select back the orc bust texture right there, and I go to subtool, and I go to append, and I locate the orc teeth, and it brings in the orc teeth to the subtool of the orc bust. So now you can see it with the teeth, and so on and so forth. And say you want to bring in the armor, orc armor, this one, orc armor. Again, you go to orc bust, go to append, and then click armor right there. But this one, if you notice, it already has sculpts and textures, and it's the same process as what I did on the body. And also I think I did the hair tubes. Yes, hair tubes. Bring in the hair tubes, and you click orc bust, append, hair tubes right there. So that's the model right there. And the next question is, how would you bring it to 3D Max, Maya, or Lightwave? So let's open the file with all the necessary settings on how to extract the normal maps, displacement, and the diffuse map. So I go to initial ZBrush, just clear everything up, and I'm going to load tool again, and I'm going to orc bust texture extract right there, and I drag and I press T and I press F, and I load up the matte cap gray. And to export this one, I usually go to, what I usually do first is the polypaint. Texture map. So I go to texture map, and I click and I press create, and I click new from polypaint. And when you click new from polypaint, you get a diffuse map right there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to generate a normal map. Before you can generate a normal map, you need to go to geometry, and then you go to the lowest resolution, go all the way to 1, and then go back and go to normal map. Right there, you could select adaptive and then create normal map, and then it calculates on the upper left side See right there, it says projection in progress. It's gonna take a few seconds right there. It's moving. It's moving. Takes a few seconds, maybe 30, 40 seconds, maybe a minute sometimes if it gets, you know, super detailed. This is a pretty cool process right here. We're almost there, we're almost there. Creating normal maps. Boom, right there. See on the left side? If you hover your mouse right there, that's the normal map. Right there. And you could also do the displacement map. Click adaptive smooth UV and create displacement map. Same thing, process the whole thing. And once you have the texture map, the normal map, and the displacement map, you can go straight to GoZ. So GoZ is a plugin, a tool for ZBrush, wherein it takes everything, the object and the normal maps, diffuse, and the displacement, straight to whichever software you prefer. Three software you prefer. You just have to. If it's the first time using GoZ, when you click GoZ, it asks you what software you want me to bring this one in, and then you select 3D Max, Maya, Lightwave, Blender, or whatever 3D software you have. So when you click GoZ, it brings it back to the 3D software. Alright, so now let's close it again and let's go back to 3D Max. So now I brought in all the models with the texture, and after this one I'm gonna show you how to set up the hair. All right, so we're back, and we're gonna be tackling on the hair. So let's say you press GoZ and then all your models and your subtools are in, and make sure you check your materials and make sure you check some of the textures, because sometimes there are glitches when you put the normal map in 3D Studio Max. And the first thing I did was I think I did the long hair, this tube here, so I click it and I just copy it right here just to show you guys how I did it. So you get the very basic mesh, very low poly. If you press F4 right there, super low poly. And you go to hair and fur. Right there, that's the default. And the first thing you do is I usually go to the materials, and I immediately change all the colors. That's the tip and the root, all the way dark. I want to have this guy super dark hair. And I could go to this, to the length. The length is okay. Density is okay. So we're just gonna use for now the default setting. And I'm gonna go to, you know what? Let's move this guy to this area right here, so we could maybe change it to left. Yes. And then we're gonna comb it. Click style hair, When you click style here, you have this guy right here, and when you click it, you could basically drag the hair, style it however you want. You could cut it, trim it, style it right there. I think if you press, no, I forgot how you oh, it's Control Shift, and then you could resize the oops, that's too small. Okay. Control Shift, you could resize the brush and continue just brushing it. Then you go to the other angle, front. You just keep brushing it. Depends on what kind of hair you like, right? So basically there's more editing needed to this one. This is just an overview on if you want, you know, this kind of hair, and you could cut it, you could make it stand, different stuff right here. You could play with the tools, and there's more in-depth tutorial on 3D Max about hair and fur. And then when you're done, you just finish style. It's not what I really wanted, but you get the idea. Let's go to perspective view. And then you have that one, and then you play with the settings right here, density, and there's a lot of render tests everywhere. Render test, same thing with the beard and the eyebrows. And if you notice, there's white mesh over here without the texture, because what I did was I don't use the whole mesh of the orc bust to put hair on it. I just divide it into different shapes. So if you select this guy and you move it forward, basically it looks like that. And then I add the hair in it, make it shorter, so it's more, there's more variety of the facial hair. And same thing goes with the ears, with the hair over here. And with the armor, I also separated it like that. That's the armor right there. And yeah, and that's how I set up the hair. And let's go to setting up the lights. So I'm gonna open a different file, and let's go to dynamics. I'm gonna show you how to put wind to give the hair movement. But before that, I'm gonna show you a few lights that I set up to for the rendering. This one, I grab an Omni light. I could use this, I could rename it as a dome light actually. There's more better lights. You could use like the photometric lights from Mental Ray, but I think they stopped developing it. So I just use the most basic tool in 3D Max, since this is for beginners and intermediate. So I'm not going to be rendering a GI renderer. I'm going to use a default scanline, but it will also give you a good result. So I just grab an Omnilight and I turn on the light on, shadow, to just use shadow map, and then intensity I dial it down to 0.6 and I grab a warm light. And that's for the dome light pass. And I grab 3 direct lights. The first one is the key light, which I should rename this one. Key light, that's the main source of light right there. The Omni light is more like an ambient or ambient. I got tongue tied. Ambient light, like a soft light. This one is the key light, where the main source of light comes from. You should angle it up 3/4 right there. And these two right here are rim lights, and I use a direct light. Rim light hits the back, gives you a nice outline lights, gives you a nice rim lights at the back. So that's how I set up my light. And to give the hair dynamics, to give it a movement, I went to the space warp and I click wind and I drag it in the interface, and this is wind right here. I gave it a turbulence of 2, frequency 0.5 with just a strength of 1. It doesn't have to be strong. And I select one of the objects with the fur. Why do I keep selecting this guy? That guy. Oh, I need to ungroup it. Ungroup first. Okay. So select any object with a fur. From there, you go all the way down and you go to dynamics. And from the dynamics, collision, set the collisions to polygon. You could add whatever object that interacts with the orc and the hair will collide with it. You could also add the external forces, which is the wind. So click add and click the wind, and it gives you the wind inside. And I just leave this one dynamic parameters as a default, and check your frames. I only needed 100 frames for this tutorial, and I put the mode pre-computed, and then I go here and then I save the cache files. I made a folder cache files, separate them all. Shoulder, this is the shoulder, that's the cache already. It's already had a cache. And once you set it up, you just press run and it will calculate, and then it will give you a nice movement. So once you calculate everything, and once you do everything with the hair, you could go here and you could press tools to preview the dynamic animation of your hair. You could go to tools, views, grab viewport, and create animated sequence. And then you just set up how many frames you want. I usually just turn on everything. 50% output. I don't need like super high res output. This is just a preview, and I just basically like click textures. You could click all of these, depends. I could even like make it smaller, just a small preview, and then I press create, and then it will give. And as you look at the screen, you see the preview being created. Wait for a few seconds. This is gonna be a long tutorial. Almost done. And you got the preview right there. So you can see the hair moving. Some of his hair over here is moving. So that's how you put dynamics on the hair. Right there. So now let's go to rendering. Let's hide the background first because we don't really need that much. We don't really need it now. So for the render passes, what I did was I just render four separate, no, three, sorry. The dome pass, the key light pass, and the rim light passes. So let's start with the I'm gonna go with a key light pass so that and they're basically the same. So go here, turn on the light. Make sure you disabled all of the lights so that it doesn't be part of the render. So I go to the key light, turn it on. Go to make sure you hover your mouse on the camera view. You go here, and this is just a test render, so I'm gonna go to single. I'm gonna make it small. It's a little heavy to render. I mean, not that heavy. I'm gonna uncheck this one so it doesn't override my render. Make sure it's single frame, 480 by 270, and I press render. It's computing shadows. It's gonna give us a decent render because it's in scanline. You could go fancy with the rendering, and it's really heavy. It gets really heavy. It's decent, you know. It's not Hollywood quality for sure, but if you're making an independent film, you could basically do this one. It's all, you know, from far away it looks okay, but if you go super close up, you could see some technical issues that is happening. So this is the key pass, the key light. If you zoom in right there, that's for the key pass. And same thing as the other lights. You turn this guy off, and then you click it, turn it on, render it, rim lights, render, and then you render the background, and that's it. So we're gonna jump back to Nuke right now, and we're gonna comp everything together and give it a good overall look. Alright, so we're back here in Nuke, and I already showed you guys the process from modeling to texturing, sculpting to hair dynamics, and I already showed you the rendering passes. So let's look at the breakdown of the layers. So I brought in all the three passes, the dome pass, key pass, and then the rim pass. So from here, I wanted it to be a size of 1920 by 1080, so I gave it a reformat because I rendered it only to 1020 by 720 because it takes a little while to render this kind of stuff, especially with hair and fur. But reformatting it to 1920 by 1080 is actually okay. It doesn't, give you that much of a pixelation, but it's okay. So first I rendered the background in 3D Max. So if you go from different frames, you could see that it's rotating. I gave it a little bit of defocus of 11.4, and I added a smoke, and this smoke is basically tracked. I gave a tracker, 4-point tracker on the background, So if you go here, right there, so I track the background, and just copy it here so that the smoke feels like it's part of the 3D world, because the smoke is basically a like a 2D card right there with a tracker, and I put a crop underneath and I merge plus it, and I also added the embers. Same thing, I put the tracker on the embers. So if you scrub the timeline, that's how it looks like. Give it a little bit of big embers on this side right here at the end of the shot, and then I merge the color passes one by one. That's the dome pass, and I merge plus the key pass right there. That's the key pass, and I merge plus again the rim pass right there. So it's pretty cool, right? From a dome to the key light to the rim. Makes the render look way better. And plus I added a light trap right there. I just connect the A to the dome pass and the B to the background. You know what? I could even connect it here, because there are embers flowing around, so you know, it's extra detail for interaction. Merge plus the light trap, and I merge plus a foreground smoke just in front of him right there. I actually gave a track. I actually track the orc 4 points right here. I track 2 points on his teeth and 2 points on the beads right there, so the smoke will tract. And then I added a foreground ember. Same thing, I added the tracker right there, but I scale it and I gave it a defocus and a time offset it, so that it feels like it's very close to the camera. And I gave it a little bit of color correction with a ramp, warm color to the top, dark color on the left side where the shadow belongs, and then an overall warm light. And I gave it a little bit of sharpen. It's very subtle, but if I zoom in and I disable the sharpen, see that? See those changes right there? It gives it a little bit of oomph on the detail. Oomph. And then I give it a blur plus by itself, and the vignette, always the classic vignette. Give it a crop, and I write it as a JPEG, quality 1, subsampling 444, render it out, and this is the finished product right there. So that's it, folks. Hope you guys learn a thing or two, and you know, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to message me, comment on the in my video section, and if I miss anything, just let me know, and you know, we'll explain more. I'll probably message you personally. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and if you could share it with your friends, that would be awesome. And thank you very much, and see you on my next video. Bye bye.